Hello, I am Anna Bauman from Tritech Productions, and here today I have with me Johnny Hinton.
Hi, everybody.
So, Johnny, I know a little bit about you, but not everything about you, of course. So, first off, what's your current position here at Greenville?
That's a really good question. I think everybody that works at Greenville probably wears lots of different hats. And so I'm very blessed to wear lots of different hats. So I right now am the RD of Hood and Houses. I'm the resident director. It means I work and live here with students, live life with students, but I'm not a student myself. I'm also the assistant director of residence life over all of res life. So I kind of work with Ross, work with their team of RDs, work with the ARDs and the RAs to create a really good space for us to work in and live in residence life so that our residents and the students here can have great experiences.
Okay, cool. So, I understand you were a student here at Greenville, right?
Yeah, I was a student now almost 4 years ago. It was crazy. I graduated 4 years ago. I was here for 2 years as a transfer student. So I was a junior and a senior here. My senior year, I did a million different things. And then I started working here right after I graduated.
Cool. So, you said you graduated 4 years ago?
Yep, 4 years ago, 2018.
What was it like being a student at Greenville during that time?
Yeah, I think COVID is a weird thing. It's like has stolen a lot of our time and I think a lot of our memories too. I think 4 years ago, Greenville was just in a really different space culturally, which wasn't a bad thing. It was a lot of fun and there was a lot of different activities, and the students at that time enjoyed different activities than the students do now. So there was like much more larger community gatherings, bigger events, those types of things. Now I feel like Greenville is really moving towards more like of small groups, much more smaller gatherings, which I think is a lot of fun because you can create more intimate relationships.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What was an obstacle you faced while you were a student here?
That's a good question. So I came in as a transfer junior, like I said, and I had already had my associates from my community college. So it was really hard at first for me to get connected to the community. But there was so many people who were so welcoming at the time that made me feel like I was already part of the community. So I remember my marching band community was a big gateway for me. It made me feel like I had friends on campus, a community on campus. And it was really like that was the threshold. Once I crossed getting into that space, it seemed like there were floodgates opened. I became a member of improv. I felt like I knew almost everybody on campus, which is always a fun feeling. I felt like I had great connections with staff and faculty and great mentors in my life. And so, yeah, I think while being here, I look back at that time as some of my best years, like personally, I was growing. And it was really, really hard for me. My mental health I struggled with some stuff there. But from those struggles, I was able to grow as a person. And so now coming back to this work, living as a person, I'm still growing and still always have my own struggles and working through those. But I also want to help other people experience the things that I did, the same growth that I was able to experience.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I also remember, especially with our groups
Yeah,
for UNIV, I was able to grow more and be able to learn how to
I'm so
interact with
glad.
other people too. And I've actually experienced a lot of growth in myself this year
Mm.
with finding more people and more friends also.
That's what I hope for every college student who goes here. College is like such a good time to explore new ideas, new things about yourself, and really form like the person that you want to be for life. And of course, that changes and morphs your entire life. But this is like the catalyst and like the ground where that can happen. And so I hope for every student that they can think critically about their experiences so that they can become better people with a wider worldview.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're the RD of Hood now. When did you decide you wanted to be an RD, and what was the process you went through before you became them, and what was it like?
That's a great question. Like I said, I had so many good people speaking into my life, like Mikey Ward, Naomi Brown, Nikita Home, Rebecca Munshaw, people who I could really see as leaders in my space. And so Mikey Ward was my first boss, and I was his first staff as he was an RD my senior year. And it was from those experiences in that space that I decided, I think that this is what I'm going to do. So my degree was elementary education, and I shifted towards educational studies, which let me be able to be graduating on time so that I could do this job. So I applied and did all the things, and then I got in, and then I was a graduate assistant for the last 3 years. and getting my master's in higher education so that it can help me hone my skills and doing this work even better. And then this last year, kind of, I taken on the assistant director role, was able to be the RD. Hood has always been where I've been at, and I've loved that community. It's been so much fun to get to shape that, work with the staff and students. I think I've had Wyatt Boyer almost every year that I've been an RD, which is super fun. And there's a couple other students who fall into that category as well. And yeah, it just is so much fun. Yeah, I think as I'm thinking about the process itself, it was really nerve-wracking because I was like, what is going to be next for me? Am I going to be a teacher? Am I going to move away from Illinois? I'm going to stay here. This is where I'm from. And so I decided to stay, and it's been really cool to be like deeply ingrained in this community.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of my favorite memories of Hood. I think I was going back with Joey one
Mm-hmm.
night after we had been out either at the Smart Center or just hanging out or whatever, and there was a whole party on the second floor watching the Cardinals
That's
game.
so fun.
And it was awesome getting to sit there with all the other guys and
Mm-hmm.
watch them as they were going on.
There's always something crazy going on in that building, and I can't keep up with it sometimes, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. So I don't want to call anyone out, but what do you do with someone that does not follow the rules, and how do you communicate with that person?
That's a really good question. There's a certain way we think about rules. Like, what is a rule? Are we talking about lifestyle statement? Are we talking about the rules about living in a building? I think the rules that are the hardest to abide by for some people is just living with other people and respecting the space that they're sharing with others. So I think that like ends up being like trash or things in the hallway and things like that. I think it's a good learning moment. I don't see it as like I'm mad at those people or something like that. I think it's a really good learning moment to notice, okay, I live in this community with other people. How can I treat this space? How can I step outside of myself and start centering the people around me instead, and take care of the community well? So I think when it comes to those types of rules, it's coming back alongside those people and helping them see the wider impact of their actions. It's the same way with the lifestyle statement stuff. It's a little bit different. I think that sometimes when it comes to smoking weed or drinking alcohol, having a party or something like that, it really comes back to the impact that it has on the community. I don't think anybody wants to smell weed when they come back from class
Oh,
and they've
no.
had a long day at classes. Or I don't think anybody wants to have a party going on next door when they have an exam the next morning or something
Mhm.
like that. So it's helping people see the wider impact that their actions have, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about.
And it's really hard. It's hard for me sometimes to see the
Mhm.
impact of my actions. And I think that's one thing I hope all college students leave here with is some kind of idea to be able to step outside of themselves and do things more with sympathy and empathy and service to others.
Mhm. I don't know if we covered this already in our previous discussion, but what has been a big problem you had to face as an RD?
That's a great question. I think, let me think about that for a second. I think the biggest problem has probably been the busyness. Sometimes, personally, it's sometimes so busy and it's hard to keep up with everything and be as intentional as I would like to be in some of my relationships with students and other people who work here. So that's probably the biggest struggle. As an RD, it really comes down to having enough time, and this is kind of connected to that, having enough time in the week to get everything done. Get enough people. I wish I could sit down with every one of my students and like have a good deep conversation. Unfortunately, there's only 16 hours in a day, 16-hour workable hours, and usually it ends up being more like 20 hours in a day.
Mhm.
And I don't get the opportunity to sit down with everybody and really like get to hear their story and hear their struggle. But luckily, I work with great people who can do that as well, and we can kind of tag team that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a great community here, especially with like I think I'm currently employed by Renee Lopez for
Mm-hmm.
tutoring,
Mm-hmm.
and the other tutors are really nice. Brittany's
Mm-hmm.
really nice and understanding too,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much most of all the RDs I've been able to meet, including you,
That's
are
good.
really nice and understanding people. And
I'm so glad you've had those experiences, and I will give a shout out to Brittany on this. I don't know if she'll hear it or not, but Britt is amazing, and the
mhm.
tutoring program that she has kind of built and maintained has been phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it's definitely really nice. Now, I understand you're moving on from Hood
Hmm.
this upcoming year. Are you looking forward to being the RD of Houses and Tower?
I am. Thank you for thank you for revealing that. The word spreads so fast in this community.
Oh
You can't
yeah.
keep anything a secret these days.
Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
No, no, I love it. I love it. I I am moving into this new role. I'm leaving Hood, which makes my heart break a little bit. Like I said, I've been there all these 4 years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
been such a phenomenal experience to get to shape that community and be embedded with those students. Moving to Houses and Tower, it is a big move, and I think one thing I really want to be cognizant of is the different way that what that community will need that's different than what Hood needs. Hood is a very mosh pos of people. We have freshmen, we have seniors, we have music students, we have football players, we have everything in between. And so it's really important to be intentional with those relationships and do like lots of wide spreading things. For Tower and Houses, it's just a different need, and I want to really search for those needs, understand those needs well through my RAs and through different connections that I have with those students, and hopefully create really great pockets of communities within the houses and the apartments.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what are you currently doing to prepare for the big move? I had heard you were painting a house.
Like I said, word spreads really quickly. Yeah, so I'm moving to the the house. It's we call it Beaumont House, or
Mm.
I call it Brown and Baker for Naomi Brown and Ross Baker. It's the house that's right across from Tower to the east, and right across the road from Height House, or right across from Ganton Circle. It's a big brick house. It's super old. I don't know how old it is. I think it's a little over 100 or maybe like 120. I'm not really sure. It's a beautiful house, and I feel very, very lucky to get to live there. But it definitely needs some love, and so I'm trying to get it to a space that makes it feel like home for sure.
Is that the one on the corner just across from the entrance to the goalies, but like right by the Burritt parking lot? Or is that the ones right behind Joe's Java?
It's the one right behind Joe's Java.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hammock definitely looks very comfortable
Yes.
on days like today when it's a little warm but it's also windy.
Yes, I can't. It's been great to live in a residence hall, but I cannot wait to have a yard, and a porch is going to be a game changer for me
Oh,
for sure.
definitely. Now, do you plan to stay in Greenville for the rest of your life, or what are you planning to do after Greenville?
That's a good question. I think I plan to be in Greenville for as long as, and I know this might sound corny to some, but I've really started leaning into this for sure. However long God wants me to be here, I think, is how long I'll be here. I've gotten an amazing opportunities personally and professionally, as well as some like just phenomenal experiences personally in my own life, in my faith, and my interactions with my personal relationships have just continued to develop the last couple of years. So I would say I'll probably be here for sure for at least the next 2 years. You can't get rid of me, guys, unless something dramatically changes and God has a different plan for me. Um, so that's where I'm at right now. I could see myself staying here for a long term. I would love that. And I don't know what that looks like, but I would definitely love that and enjoy that. And in my heart, I think I could do this work for the rest of my life. On the other side of me, and not to be ageist or anything, but I don't think I could do this at 80 years old or 70 years old or 60 even.
I understand
I think
that.
people would start getting tired of my old geezerness.
Yeah, honestly, I can't. As of right now, I can't imagine campus without you, but of
Oh,
course, God always has plans for us,
mm-hmm.
and we never know where He'll take us next.
That's so true. It's really hard to discern that sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Now, for our last question, what are some things you will recommend to do for new students?
Oh, that's a great question. I think get involved is always my thing. There's so many opportunities here to be in leadership, to be in clubs and organizations and sports. I think there is a pocket for everybody here. One of my favorite groups of students, there's two favorite groups of students. One of my favorite groups is the music students. They're always, some of them are athletes, some of them are student leaders in other spaces, some of them are business students, but they all come here to one space and become really great musicians. And that's always my heart. I love that. And they get involved is what I'm trying to say. The other students I really love is the DM students. They're always doing some kind of posters or videos or doing something for the Vista or I think there's so much power in getting involved. You're only here for so much time. And I think if I could go back and change one thing in my life, it would to be here for 4 years rather than 2, so that I could get even more involved in the community.
Yeah, I'm currently really enjoying getting involved in some of the music
Mm-hmm.
classes here,
Mm-hmm.
like with project sound design.
That's cool.
I've been able to meet some really cool artists, and I think at least one of them in my group is actually a freshman.
That's
And the
cool.
other night we were recording something, and we only had to do 1 or 2 takes, and it was perfect.
That's
And it's
amazing.
really awesome getting to see and learn um how these artists create their music, what their singing
Mm-hmm.
style is, how their voice
Mm-hmm.
interacts with different music or and sounds, and being able to record different types of instruments and add those on top in like background, like for acoustic or bass or percussion and
Hmm.
stuff. It's really awesome getting to learn
It's
about
great.
that.
One thing I'm going to miss about living in Hood is being right across from the Black Room. Every
Mm,
Tuesday, I have a concert basically to go to. And it's been such a huge blessing. I love watching those musicians grow and release new music and become even better musicians. It's been quite a blessing for sure.
and it's been great getting to have you here, Johnny, and thank
Thank
you.
you. I really appreciate it. And it's always good to sit down and talk.
Same. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. It was nice getting to talk to you again and being able to sit down again.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, this was Anna Bauman with the lovely Johnny Hinton,
Thank you.
and thank you for listening to this podcast of TriTech Productions.